Welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chantal Cox. I'm an author, a speaker, a transformation neurocoach, and a certified life purpose coach. I am normally joined by my amazing co-coach, Gwen White, who is a human design specialist and a certified virtual coach. So together, Gwen and I are on a mission to transform and create community in the coaching industry by supporting you and saying no to complicated cookie cutter strategies that just lead to burnout, and instead say yes to simplification with a focus on alignment, service, and impact. And with our combined experience and areas of expertise, we are here to help you create aligned momentum in your business and in your life. So we want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, the Create a Life You Love membership, which is an active community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are up-leveling in the most powerful ways to increase their knowledge, their momentum, and their impact. If you would like more information or you are interested in applying, just head over to createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership, and we will have that link in the show notes for you. So I'm very excited to share this episode with you. This is another in our series of unlocking the power of coaching, where we let you see kind of behind the scenes of a real live coaching conversation, and we share tips, techniques, and strategies with you to help you in your coaching journey. You are about to be introduced to Kathryn Price. She is an author, a speaker, and a mentor who helps women find both the clarity and the courage to go after what they truly want. And I just know you're going to immediately fall in love with her and want to go cheer her on and connect with her. And she is in New Zealand. And I just am so honored that I got to support her just a tiny little bit in her journey. And stay tuned, because she will be an upcoming guest and do an actual podcast interview and share with you some of her just amazing tips and strategies that I know she has in store for you. Okay, so as you're listening in, there's a couple things that I want you to be aware of and reflect on your own coaching practice for. So one, something that was so hard for me as a beginner coach, and that the coaches that I work with, it's one of the main things that they really um, kind of struggle with in the beginning, and that is wait time. Those awkward, silent moments in the conversation where we feel like we need to fill the space with us talking, right? But there's so much power in that silence, in that wait time, because what's happening is your client is processing and thinking, and then sometimes will go ahead and fill that space, that silence, with continued thoughts and deeper thoughts, going deeper into whatever it is you're working on. So when your client is talking, really be attentive to what they're saying and turn off that kind of voice in the back of your head that's like, oh my gosh, they're going to stop talking in a minute. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? I need a question. What am I going to do? Right. That is so common for so many of us. And even still in my coaching journey, I sometimes find myself doing that and have to kind of call myself out and be like, okay, calm down, like be present, listen to what she is saying and allow the space. So once she's done speaking, then you can start thinking about like what might be helpful in getting her to the next step. And so there may be some silence, and some beautiful work might happen in that silence. Another thing I want to point out is that my kind of foundational training that I really lean heavily on and bring in, especially when we're dealing with limiting beliefs, and just kind of some of those things that are holding us back. So if you listen to last week's episode with Julia, it was much more strategy, right? So I really did not need to bring in the neuro coaching. But this week with Kathryn, I really needed to bring in my experience with neuro coaching. And when I do that, part of that model that I'm master certified in is taking notes, because it's so powerful to repeat their exact words back to them. When we're talking, we hear our own thing and we just assume it's truth. We don't often stop and question and say, now, wait a minute, is that true? Like, we just think it's true and we just go about like, well, yeah, I can't write a book. I can't be a coach. I can't start a podcast. And you just say it as true. And then when someone from the outside is looking in and says, so you can't start a podcast? And then you hear it, it's the exact same words, but you're like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I could if I wanted to. Like, look at all the things that I've accomplished before that I set my mind to. And now we can reframe it. Now we can have a different conversation. So, whatever model you're trained in, however your coaching style works best, if taking notes is something that you do, just make sure you communicate that with the person that you are coaching so that they understand why you might be looking down a little bit while you're coaching, that you're still very present, you're still very in tune with exactly what they're saying. You're not just, checking Facebook or something. Because it really is about creating a safe environment, really having that psychological safety where they can just be, and you are just holding space, this very safe space for them to process and think. Because so many of us, we move so fast and we're just go, 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 do, do, do. So if you have an opportunity to be coached for like 30 minutes and just stop the chatter in your brain and really process, really think, and have someone reflecting those words back to you. It's so powerful. And as a coach, it's so beautiful when you get to do that for someone else. So, something that we hit on in this conversation is the importance of coaches having coaches. And so, think about what that might look like for you. Is that going and finding your next coach to get you to your next level and actually hiring someone? Is that buddying up with another coach that you've met in some program that you align with and you agree to coach each other? Like, what does that look like for you? But it's so, so important for your growth to find that in some capacity. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I really resonate with where Kathryn is on her journey. Every time we are starting something new, these things come up for us. So, when I was writing my book, I had to go through all these things. When I started the podcast, I had to go through all these things. When I launched the membership, I had to go through all these things. So it's just so beautiful to see where Kathryn is on her journey and to kind of help get her some action and some momentum and get going in her direction so that she can make that impact for all these amazing women. And we have been in contact since this was recorded, and she's making so much progress. And I'm very excited for you to continue to get to know her, connect with her, and follow her on her journey, cheer her on, and all the things. So, with that, I will let you enjoy the episode. Please let us know what stood out for you, what was helpful, what would be helpful in the future. You can reach out to me on social media, email, and we love it if this is helpful for someone. If you want to share, that would be amazing. And leaving a review is always so, so much appreciated. We read every single one and we're just so, so grateful. So you can do that quickly and easily from any device at ratethispodcast.com/Khalil. That's CALYL for Create a Life You Love. And that will also be in the show notes. All right. Enjoy this conversation with Kathryn and let me know what you think.
My business is still in the early stages. So I published my first book last year. I've had this passion for personal development for more than 3 decades. So yeah, it's been a long time. And I finally got to the point where this time I'm bringing the business together, and I've started working with some clients. But it's not going as fast as I'd like it to, which I guess, is a common theme. And at times I get a little bit frustrated with that. At times I get a little bit overwhelmed with, what to do next. And at times I still, although it's less, I still have this disconnect between what I've done and what I'm doing and myself in some way. So, as I talked about, there's this part of me still that doesn't believe I can do this, if I'm really honest. Yet I've published the book, I've got the social media following, I'm doing all the things, but it just doesn't feel like it's real yet.
Okay. Congratulations on your book. That's huge. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
So tell me about what's the difference between, like, I guess, does publishing your book, does that feel real?
Yeah, it does now, although, when I pick it up and read it, I look at it and I'm reading it and I'm going, did I write this? It's like, this is quite good. Did I write this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's even with them sitting there behind me, it's like, I don't know, there's still some kind of disconnect. I suppose it's a belief, or it's something that I've wanted for so many years, for decades. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's real. But yeah, there's still that little disconnect that it's actually mine and I'm actually an author now,
Mm-hmm.
even though, as I say, I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having these thoughts and emotions, making these beliefs across multiple areas. So with your book and with your coaching, and probably some other areas too. So let's really dive into that a little bit. So when you start working on something, or, when that voice comes in, what are the words that that voice is saying to you?
You're never going to get to where you want to be.
Okay. So it's telling you you're never going to get where you want to be.
Mm.
And tell me about the result. Where is it that you want to be? What does that look like?
So what I want to be doing is I want to be selling more books. I want to be speaking publicly. I've been doing podcast interviews recently, which has been great, but I want to be speaking, to bigger audiences and really getting my message out there and helping more women create the life that they truly want,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I've been doing and done for myself through my businesses and now with this journey. So yeah, that's the end result, that I'm speaking, I'm writing more books, which I'm doing. I hope to get my second one published later this year. And mentoring more women.
Amazing. So you mentioned having other businesses in the past. How have those been different than this one in terms of kind of this thought process?
So the other business that I have currently, that I've had for the last 7 years, is a furniture painting business, and I have my own furniture paint brand which I sell. So I don't actually paint furniture, but I used to teach people how to do it because I learned myself. And then I developed my own furniture paint brand, and that business I started in 2016, and it's still going, but I have a number of those parts outsourced. So I have someone who distributes the product for me. And, I've been through the process with that business of going from not believing to actually getting it up and running, outsourcing, having an income from it where I do very little to create, myself these days. So I know it's possible, and I know I can do it with a product, but it's very different with a personal brand. That's what I'm finding, I think.
So talk to me about what that difference is for you.
It feels more vulnerable to be promoting me, what I've written, which is based on my beliefs and my experiences. So it's very personal compared to the product. Feels easier because it's the product that I'm promoting. It's not actually me and my beliefs.
Yeah.
Directly, and my really deep beliefs and my core beliefs and values and experiences too, personal experiences from a number of years.
Yeah. So what emotions come up for you when you're feeling that kind of like vulnerable and this is very personal?
So a lot of shame, a lot of family shame. I have in the past, I've had criticism around voicing my opinions and my thoughts and my feelings, not only from family, but from supposed friends as well. And yeah, I think that's something that's really still there for me, that I'm often thinking about that when I voice an opinion or share a story. I've got this little voice in my head saying, but that's not true, or who are you to be sharing that? Yeah, so
Yeah. So you've had for years from multiple sources these repeated thoughts and patterns, both externally and internally. And so those have created some neural pathways for you. So when we have the same thought repeated over time and it's attached to an emotion, that then becomes our subconscious beliefs. And so then our beliefs then guide the decisions we make, the actions we take, and ultimately the results that we get. So if we look at, you're currently having those thoughts and emotions of the shame and who am I? And then that makes the belief of I'm not going to be able to do this. What did you say? You're never going to do this. I don't believe I can do this. And so then we look at that disconnect between the result that you want of you speaking and making your impact and writing more books and just getting out there and living in your purpose and helping all these people that you're meant to help. And so we've got to kind of reverse it and say, okay, we know the result we want. So like what actions would you have to take, even if it was scary?
you mean practical actions in my business? Yeah, so I've been, as I said, I've started doing podcast interviews. I'm really keen to run a women's conference locally. And I keep putting that off because I'm scared.
Mhm.
And, there's no reason that I can't do that. In the past, in my corporate life, I run big events and, I know how to bring it all together. I mean, I know the people that I want to speak at the event, and I've already been in touch with some of those people. So I know I can do it, but it just feels really scary. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. And I think too, doing that really puts me out there as that person.
Mhm.
So yeah, that feels scary, even though, I know on a practical level, I can pull it together. I can actually make it happen.
Mhm.
But as you say, with those neural pathways, which is absolutely right, it's all that stuff we're feeding into our subconscious mind all the time,
Mhm.
that, you know, has me putting the brakes on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's look at reframing some of those thoughts.
Mm.
So one of the things you had said was like, who are you to do such and such? So tell me, like, who are you to do such and such in like a positive, confident way?
So I am someone who's been on my personal development journey for 35 years. I had my own wake up call back in 1989 and I sought therapy. And, shortly after, I made a commitment to myself to always be on this journey because I knew what it did for me very, very quickly. I could see that it was having, a profound effect on me to dive deeply into some of the things that were really holding me back and were keeping me small and keeping me depressed and self-loathing and all those other things. So, I've got that 35 years of commitment to my own work, and it wasn't only psychotherapy. Over that period of time, I've worked with counselors and healers and, all sorts of mentors and coaches, all sorts of people. So, I've got this really broad experience in a lot of different areas, personally and professionally. So, through building businesses but also through doing my personal work. So, I've got all of that experience, but I've also got all of my own, my own stories and my own things that I've been through. So yeah, there's a lot that I do have that I can share that's really of value, and hence writing the book. So, and now I have the book, yeah, so
Yeah,
I do have a lot.
you do. And so really taking the time to like celebrate those wins and telling our brain, like reminding our brain, like, look at what I have, look at what I've done. Um, Talk to me about some of the feedback you've gotten from people who have read your book.
Yeah, well, that has been amazing. Right from the beginning, when I was getting test readers, even before I published it, I got really great feedback from a whole range of people. Some were uh, counselors, uh, professional people. Since publishing it, I've had amazing feedback from so many people, people saying, I was reading it and I couldn't put it down and I missed my train stop, I was so engrossed. I just had some feedback recently from the woman who was my primary psychotherapist way back in the 90s. I sent her a copy and she came back to me, and just really praised the great work that I was doing and how wonderful it was and how all of my exercises in the book were really effective. So, yeah, there's been a lot from, quite a range of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of our brain's main jobs is to keep us safe and alive. and how it does that. And I'm sure you know a lot of this from all the work that you've done. But kind of stating it to remember it. Maybe it's said in a different way that you're ready to hear now. And also because we're recording it for a podcast episode. So giving some background. um, but so your brain is keeping you safe and alive. And so anything new and unfamiliar is considered unsafe. And so it puts up all those barriers that can look like procrastination, perfectionism, overwhelm, to keep you in that comfort zone, to keep you repeating the same patterns because that's what's familiar. That's what we know. So I'm sure you've done some work with like affirmations and visualization.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So those are really powerful brain-based strategies because if it's a really, really strong visualization and you're really seeing the colors and smelling the smells and like immersing yourself in this vision, your brain can't really tell the difference between reality and it being kind of your really in-depth imagination. And so you can start training your brain that this has already happened. Um, this isn't scary. Like, and then your decisions and actions can start matching those results that you want because it's no longer scary or out of the comfort zone type of thing. So,
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's all, it's all stuff I know. I mean, I had a
yeah.
business in the 90s where I actually developed affirmation cards and I used to sell them. It's all, yeah. So it's just reminding myself, and as you say, being in the place to receive that and the right time. And, as you said, our brain, yeah, it does keep us, it's designed to keep us safe. And in this case, for me, I can really see that it is trying to do that. It is trying to keep me safe and keep me away from those anxious thoughts and feelings,
Mhm.
by staying where I am and not doing the scary things. So yeah, so thank you for that. Yeah, I can definitely see that that's what's happening for sure.
Yeah. So now with that lens, thinking about when those thoughts come up, of who are you to do this? You're not going to be able to do this. What would you rather have programmed in your head?
I can do anything.
Hmm.
I know that. I've proven that over the last 3 decades, from being a high school dropout to being a successful entrepreneur and
Amazing.
now having written my own book. Yeah, I've proven that time and time again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can do anything, and I can do this.
Yeah. So a really powerful activity is to kind of journal out all those examples of things that you have done. You've written the book and give examples of feedback that you've gotten. Like say, like, who am I to do this? Well, I'm Kathryn Price and I
Right,
all the
yeah,
good things, and really just go deep with that and really have that emotional connection of just that like confident, um and maybe even like do the confident pose sometimes,
right, sure, yeah,
superhero, and just really like get in that vibration and be focusing on that. And when your current habits and thoughts come in play, say, oh, thank you, brain, for keeping me safe. I appreciate you. But here's what's safe. Here's what we know now. And just like be practicing that. Um,
sure, yeah, that's a great thing to do, and I do a lot of that work already with inner child work that I've been doing over the last few
uh,
years more so, and talking to the different parts of myself, so I know that that works really well, and it's just yeah, thank you for the reminder, because this is all, as I say, it's all stuff I know, and it's stuff that I work with my clients and things, but sometimes I think, well, I mean, it always takes working with someone, doesn't it, to have it reflected back to you so that you can actually see what's going on.
yeah. Absolutely. That's the beauty of coaching and why
Yeah, for
one of the
sure.
many reasons it's so powerful, because it's hard for
Mm.
us to see outside of ourselves. We get in our own thought patterns, and then we get confirmation bias where our brain is looking for, well, this is what you believe, so now I'm going to find reasons to prove it, and so that I'm right, and confirming what
Yeah.
you believe. And so to have somebody outside be able to kind of repeat some of your words back to you allows you to kind of like stop and be like, no, wait a minute, that's not true. Like, but when it's just all in your head bouncing around, you don't even consciously like catch it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's the catching it that is the point at which, well, then you can make a different choice. And as you say, you can actually have reinforce the new beliefs rather than continue with the old ones.
Yes. So let's get you like a fairly quick like win that you can celebrate, so you can start kind of building that positive momentum. So what would be something that you feel like you could quickly do and accomplish?
I think I think doing that journaling that you've just talked about would be great as a part of that process, which I will definitely do when I get off this call. Um, but I really want to take the step of getting this conference underway.
Yeah.
Um, I know I'd like to do it in the spring, so we're just going into autumn here in New Zealand. So that would be around September, October time. So that gives me, 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
which is plenty of time to organise it and get it sorted and sell tickets and all of that. So that's something that I really want to do. So I think starting work on that, on planning for that, like, getting a landing page done on my website and just going. I mean, I've got a lot of a plan done already around, a lot of a strategy done around it.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to my strategy, just going over that, refining anything, putting an agenda together for the day so that I can start shaping what it's going to look like. And then, yeah, just putting it out there. I've sort of had this idea in my head that, I need a venue booked and I need this and I need that, but I actually don't, because it's going to be in my city. So, I can still put it out there saying that the venue will be confirmed closer to the time, that it's going to be a central location. So that doesn't need to stop me.
Love that.
Yeah. So I think, that would be something that I can get started on that will, yeah, help me work towards that goal.
Amazing. And so, um, what I'm hearing you say is you're gonna kind of like pick a date and start promoting it and get your landing page out there. And then there's a level of almost like accountability. Like you've put it out there, people have signed up, like you can't back out now type of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So how does that sound and feel?
It feels really exciting again to
Yeah.
be thinking about that, but at the same time, it feels scary.
Mhm.
But that's okay, because I know that it's normal to feel a little bit scared or a little bit anxious when we're doing new things. I know that that is completely normal.
Mhm.
So, but also at the same time, with what we've just talked about, I know that when I start to feel that little bit of scary around it, I can go, I can stop myself and I can go, no, it's going to be okay.
Mhm.
I've got all this experience. I know how to put events together.
Mhm.
Um, I've got the speakers lined up. It's actually all going to be okay. So I can counter those thoughts and feelings
Absolutely.
with those affirmations. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And you have actual evidence from your past of when you've accomplished similar things successfully. And so reminding your brain of that, of this isn't new. I put on events before. I know how to do this. This is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gosh, how long ago was it? It was probably 20 years ago that I ran an event for 1,000 people,
Wow.
a Christmas party for 1,000 adults and children, it was like, so, this, which will be, I don't know, maybe for 100 women. I mean, yeah,
It's amazing. So
yeah.
think about those 100 women leaving your conference. How do you want them to feel as they're leaving?
I want them to feel alive and excited and energized and inspired and with some really practical tools and, a strategy for their own life and how they can move forward from, where they are and what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when your brain starts throwing a temper tantrum and trying to keep you safe, think about those 100 women. Think about that impact. Envision
Yes.
them, envision having a conversation with one of them or hearing them call someone on their way out and be like, I just went to this conference and it changed my life in this way. Like, think
Yeah.
about all those.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Actually
love
can't
it.
wait. Yeah.
Yes. Ugh, I have goosebumps for you. I'm so excited. Um,
Thank you.
yes. Okay. So what are your action items that you're committing to?
Okay. So I'm going to get off this call and I'm going to journal about, who am I to be doing this work and to be running this conference and to have written this book and doing all of the work that I want to be doing.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to get out my conference strategy, which I've got in a book, and just go through that with a highlighter and refresh my memory, go back to my spreadsheet that I've got that was where I started all my planning for it. Yeah, and then I'm going to set a date.
I love it. Those are all um, measurable, like, did I journal? Yes or no? Did I get out my conference strategy? Yes or no? Did I set a date? Yes or no? So you can very clearly say, yes, I did that. Yes, I'm building that positive momentum.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they are definitely. Yeah.
amazing. Well, good. So was this helpful?
Oh, yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was fantastic. Yeah, it's just really helped me to reframe my thinking and to remember some things that, as I said, I've known for decades.
Mhm.
But it's so helpful just to, you know, be with a coach, be with someone who can reflect that back to you and just it's really kind of stopped me in my tracks and gone, okay, it's like this is why and this is why I'm thinking that way and I don't need to think that way and I can think a different way. Yeah, so it's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you are ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.